So I've covered will, now will be the LPA story. This is 2017. So take note of the year first, 2017. Okay, 88-year-old widow, Madam Chung. Alright, this lady, what happened is the husband passed on, left with a big piece of land in teacher's estate. And what happened is that she actually sold half of it and kept half. Alright, she sold half and then kept half. So you all imagine how big the piece of land is, teacher estate. And what happened is she went to travel. She got so much money, so travel, right? Lonely, right? So travel. And she went to China and she got to know a China tour guide called Yang Yin. Okay, you got to know this person, and then this person treated her very well to the extent that just one trip, she actually invited him to come to Singapore, and then this guy became a godson, adopted grandson. Sorry, became a grandson, adopted grandson, and after that she started to stay in her house, and you know what she suggests to her? Go and do a LPA. When you're mentally unsound, I handle you, I take care of you. So she actually went to do a LPA. When she's mentally incapacitated, he take over everything to handle for her. That's the first thing. Second, also, he actually told her to write a will and says that if she pass on, everything belongs to him. Okay, because she's alone, or she don't have kids or whatsoever. So what happened is that old people become very vulnerable as we age. Okay, and to the extent that because she don't have an LPA and a will, this person take advantage of the situation. And I want to tell you something, shame on us Singaporean. Why? This gentleman from China was the first few in Singapore to do an LPA in Singapore. Okay, Singaporean like you all, I haven't even do he do it. So when he come out of jail, I want to recruit him. Right, confirm an expert. Confirm an expert. Right. So what happened is she took advantage of the situation. Things start missing. Okay, things start missing. And what happened is that luckily for her, someone mentioned, okay, I know the insider story. Okay, so basically what happened, right? Someone mentioned to her niece. Okay, someone mentioned to her niece that this guy is funny guy. Okay, a lot of things in the house is missing. Okay, and then he also moved this gentleman moved the wife and the children to stay there and start to buy branded goods for themselves or whatever. Alright, so a lot of question mark. Alright, so the niece started to investigate. And then later lodged a report. Okay, and this was the first case of in Singapore where they activate the LPA, lasting power of attorney. Okay, LPA stands for lasting power. They activate and actually make him in control of all her assets. Sad. Okay, luckily the court overruled and says no, she's mentally sound. After that, overruled already, then later she's mentally unsound again. So the court very good. The court protect her already, then after that said okay, unsound already. Okay, during the court time she's sound. Okay, so very sad case. Alright, so and do you all know that in Singapore we are living longer and longer? Based on statistics, later part of our life we will not be able to manage ourselves. Alright, so we need this document LPA to actually protect our interests. Okay. Now, if you don't have an LPA, now what will happen? Oh no, sorry. If you want to set up an LPA, how do you do it? Okay. Now, this is only to manage your asset in Singapore. You cannot, if you are Singaporean doing an LPA, you cannot manage your asset in Australia, UK, Malaysia. No, only asset in Singapore. Foreigners who stays in Singapore can do an LPA to manage your asset in Singapore too. Alright, so now, so what happens is that if you are an individual who wants to do an LPA, lasting power attorney. Oh, before I go, how many of you have done the LPA? Oh, very good. I know why so many people. You know why? It's free. Because it's free. Okay, it's good. You have done it. Alright, so basically LPA Form 1, there's only Form 1, Form 2. Alright, Form 1 is you give the full power to the donee. Okay, so you appoint a donee to manage your affair. Alright, so Form 1 means you give full power to the person to manage. Form 2 means you check and balance, you control the person. Example, if let's say relating to welfare, okay, relating to welfare, you say cannot put me in a nursing home. I must stay in my own home. Okay, so what happens in LPA Form 2, you can state there, check and balance, get restriction whatsoever, you can put there. But LPA Form 1 cannot. LPA, you give the full power to the person who you appoint as a donee. So the donee, if you want to take advantage of situation, can for LPA Form 1. So in Yang Yin's situation, most likely there's a Form 1. She took full control of her welfare. At the same time, properties and affairs. So the financial affairs also decided by that person. So if you have an LPA Form 2, you can say that, my property cannot be sold, can only be rented out. The rental income be used to take care of me. Upon my death, then the property can be sold via my will, whatever. Okay, you can do that. Alright, so take note of that. Now, LPA and will is a different thing. LPA is when you're mentally unsound. This document take care of you, manage your asset, manage your welfare for you. Okay, a will is to distribute estate upon your passing. So take note, LPA and will is a different instrument altogether. Now, if you own real estate, which all of us will own some real estate, owning a real estate, very important is you need to have an LPA. Okay, now we see sibling fight for control of wealthy mom's asset after she loses mental capacity. Do not take lightly the naming of your legal representative or your donor. So what happens is something like this. Let's say you own a property. Let's say you own a property with a husband. Okay? And that rental income whatsoever is your retirement fund. Let's say the extra property. Now what happens if when one party is mentally unsound? Because this legal document you need two persons to sign. Right? When one party is mentally unsound, you cannot transact anymore. Understand? So if the person has a donee, if you have a donee, the donee can sign on your behalf. If you have, if you don't have, it will be an issue. John, you want to share your story?
Okay. This one is a true story. So remember COVID? Just before COVID, I meet this gentleman because I'm managing their family properties portfolio. Okay, so the I say uncle auntie lah. The uncle is very nice. Okay, he buy a property fully paid for the auntie. Good, no? All the wife good, no? This one is very good, lah. Right. So
my wife not here.
So I sat down with both of them. I say, I look at the estate, right? And then I say, hey, do you have a lasting power of attorney? So both of them said no. So then, being a nice guy, I say, go and apply lah. And then after that, I didn't follow up. Okay. Because I'm not a full-time estate planner. I'm just a property agent, but I do have this portfolio, this learning. So I just apply lah. I just tell them. So after COVID, okay, I met them again. Okay, the husband and wife, because they are getting old, so they start to offload all the assets because they want to go to travel and enjoy the retirement fund. So they sold off 2 properties. So now they have 2 more. Right. So they want to sell off this one that is under the mom's name, the auntie's name. Because they are probably value about 1.52 million at that point of time. Right. So they can have more retirement fund, realize their dream. Unfortunately, okay, the wife got dementia. Some not some not some now, right? So the property was originally under rental, right? So can we now continue after lease end, right? The tenant leave, right? Can we sign and then fresh new tenancy with another new tenant? Can or not? Cannot, because the sole owner is the wife, you see, and she's a housewife. And who give all this money? The husband, right? The uncle. And this property cannot rent. Okay, then can you sell the property? Also cannot. And the uncle also very old already. At first he can walk, until now cannot walk. All the dreams cannot realize. Because he want to travel around the world. Then the auntie dementia every day hit him, right? Because cannot remember, right? Every day, no, there's sometimes they cannot remember. They keep my, hey, why you never, bring me to this? Why you do this? All the 旧账, all the old things they remember. Oh, go back, correct? So it very, stuck. The son come and find me. Say, John, can you sell the property or not? I say, I try. Okay, there's one thing you can do. It's called deputyship. You know what's called deputyship? That means you go and get a court order to be able to sell. So I call Alan. Hey, how much is the deputyship?
8 to 10.
8 to 10,000.
Not charged by me, I charge by lawyer, not charged by me.
Okay, then I tell the son said, wow, then who pay? Right? 老爸 pay, right? Right, then later I realized in the deputyship, right, because they originally come from Taiwan, right? Got to have the brother, sister, all these relatives in Taiwan to agree there. Lawyer also don't want to do right? If you see the complication, now the house is there, nothing. Can you imagine, let's say we talk about rental 5,000 or even 4,000, you can come sit by 1 year, it's 48 to 60,000 of money loss. Just because one simple LP. Also, I take responsibility. I never insist enough. That's why we are here. Okay, so please, don't never do LPA, please don't do. I always argue with last time with I don't know, I say, hey, I so young. Okay, not so young now. Yeah, quite young now, okay. I say, hey, I won't lose my mind, correct? I'm quite okay, right? Correct? Looks. Then I say, hey, why should I do an LPA? Then that's the one thing. Hey, what if you have an accident? Hit your spinal cord, hit your brain, how? Well, then I quite going to do it. Okay, right.
So what happens if you don't have an LPA, the family members have to apply for this thing called deputyship, which John have just shared. Now, this deputyship is not easy. What happens is that the family members, whoever, most likely for this case, the son will be the one, not the father, because the father is really and not doing well already. So the court will not want the father, but one will want the son. But the son has to list out everything of this asset of the mom, every asset. And all parties, including a relative whatsoever, has to agree they do not want to be the deputy, except this son. So you have to ask all whoever have the chance to be a deputy, revoke the one to be rejected. And then this person, the son, becomes the deputy. Okay? And it's not easy. The whole process usually takes about 6 months to a year. If you never do properly, go back again, refill up the thing, come back again. Alright? So deputy is very difficult one. So please, if you don't have an LPA, go into. Okay? Because if let's say you're in coma, any payment to you, okay, you see, a lot of people have forgotten that it's just LPA for property. LPA can be for anything. Let's say I'm in a coma and I have insurance policy and the insurance payout. The check will be issued to my name. But I'm already lying there. How do I go and cash out the money? How do I cash out the money? The insurance company will issue a check payable to my name, correct now. But I'm in coma. How do I cash out the money? If I don't have an LPA, my donor will do it. So take note, LPA is very important. Okay, LPA is important to have. Even if you are very young, do it. Let me talk about trust. Trust gives people the impression that it's a very atas thing. It's something that is promoted by the private bank for the ultra high net worth or the high net worth. It's not. Yeah, well, in 20 years' time in Singapore, I believe every family will have a trust. Trust me. Trust me. Yeah, trust me. Everyone will have a trust. Because why? Because there's not enough education on trust. If you know the benefit of using a trust, a lot of people will create a trust. Okay? Now, let me just share an example of what is a trust. Okay? Now, let's say, can you see this? I have this clicker. Now, this is a very expensive clicker, let's say, and it's my jewel, my asset. I make money through this thing. So this is a very important asset to me. And what happened is that I trust John. John is someone that I trust. Okay? And I worry that if something happened to me, this asset is gone or whatsoever. But my kids are young and I want my kids to benefit from using this example. So what I do is I say, John, you are someone that I trust. Alright, so let's prepare a legal document to create a trust. And you are my trustee. Let's hold this for the benefit of my children. Okay? Anytime when my children wants to use this, they come to you, you let them use. They finish using it, you take it back, you hold for me. If you're no more around, pass it to the next trustee to hold for my children. So this is the simple trust that I'm talking about. That you get someone, an individual or a trust company like Precept to hold this asset on your behalf. Of course, if you get a corporate entity, they will charge you a fee. But what happens is the objective is to protect the asset. Now, in some trusts, we call this irrevocable trust. Even if your beneficiary is a bankrupt, the asset is protected from creditors. Okay, if your kid make a mistake, it's declared a bankrupt. If the asset is under their name, all gone. But because inside a trust, nobody can touch it. That's why a lot of bankrupt still walking around being very rich because they have a trust behind. But I'm not telling you how to do all that. I'm not promoting this. I'm just telling you an example. Okay? Alright, so how do we set up a trust? Very simple. The person who's going to set up a trust is called the settlor. The person who's going to set up a trust is called the settlor. And what happened is that he create, there's this legal document called a trust deed. Alright, so you create a trust. Let's say John set up a trust. This trust can call John Cheng Family Trust. Okay? And what happened is that he can move the asset inside the trust for the trust to hold. So this asset becomes the trust asset. So example, he moved 1 million inside cash. So this 1 million will be protected from creditor. Even John is a bankrupt, this 1 million nobody can touch. Because it's for the benefit of my beneficiary and the portal. Okay? Now, real estate also can. But real estate today, we cannot in our lifetime when I'm alive, transfer the property into a trust because there's ABSD, additional buyer stamp duty, 60%. Nobody will do it. If you do it, it's funny. Okay? But what you can do is you can will your property into a trust upon your death. So that the property is not owned by your children but owned by the trust. There's benefit for your kids who own a property by a trust, which later I'm going to cover. Okay, so this is one example of creating a living trust. Okay, now let me just show one example. Trust story, delayed gratification, delayed distribution, the Salim Talib trust. Before I share this real story, can I check with you? How many of you are surname Talib here? You Talib? I Talib you there. Okay, so there's no Talib. Okay, if there's no Talib, I'll share this story. Okay, this true story. Okay, can you see this gentleman? Alright, this guy was a very rich merchant in Singapore. Alright, and what happened is that in the early days, okay, he died in 1937. But what happened in the early days, he was rich. He owns a lot of land in Orchard Road. What happened is he went to the lawyer. Okay, but because during that time, in the early days, all the lawyers are British. He do not know how to speak English because all the lawyers are British people, British professional. He cannot speak English, so he talked to the clerk. The clerk will talk to him in Kampung Melayu, correct? Last time we call it Kampung Melayu. So the clerk told him that, all the rich people that write will with my lawyer, do not distribute their asset. Keep the asset inside the trust for 100 years. 100 years later, then distribute. So this gentleman said, okay, if the rich people are doing it, I also follow. So he followed technically blindly. Okay, because you don't know much, so he followed blindly. All right, he says, okay, he died in 1937. In 2037, his trust will end. All his assets will be distributed. One of the assets is this thing called treetop executive resident, valued at almost close to 1 billion. Okay, so the next year in 2037, this trust will be dismantled. All the assets inside will be distributed among all the beneficiaries. Can you imagine if there's only one beneficiary and he's a rope sweeper, he will be a billionaire. Okay, what's the moral story? The moral story: if you are single, try to marry a Talib. If you are married, so sorry, yeah, but you can tell your children to marry a Talib. Okay, so what happened is that the next generation, via a trust, do you agree that property will always appreciate? Because Singapore land is limited, all right, property will appreciate over time. But because this one is raw land, okay, it was raw land, all right, in Orchard area. Nobody know that time was all, I think, cemetery. All right, so what happened is it's held in a trust, okay, and this is done by our partner here, one of our shareholders, which is going to distribute this piece of land, 2037, in another 12 years. If the property double, it will be 2 billion. Just this piece, haven't exclude others, haven't exclude other assets. I wish I can compromise to Talib now. Okay, so take note the advantage of using a living trust to leave a legacy for your future generation. Okay, through the use of financial instruments, like the example, real estate.
I'm just curious what happened to his immediate relatives.
Oh no,
in
what?
1937.
Okay, so what happened is they're still enjoying the income. They still enjoy. Only the capital is kept inside. They enjoy the income. Okay, but what happened is that the capital itself at year 2037 will be distributed. You look out in the newspaper. They will advertise in the newspaper. They confirm will advertise in the newspaper. If your surname is a Talib, please come forward to get your inheritance. So this is an example of a living trust. Using a trust to create big wealth. All right, grow your wealth for your future job. Massive distribution. Okay. All right. So let's go into planning. So what do I do when I do planning for customers? All right. A few things that I call this W3 planning. All right. What I want to achieve: wealth protection, wealth preservation, wealth enhancement. Okay. Because of time, let me just speed it up. Now, when I talk about protection, all right, I want to protect the asset. All right. When we plan for our customers, we want to protect their asset. Now, because today the talk is focused on property, so let's focus on just property. Okay, the first one is inheritance. A lot of time we leave behind an inheritance, we will it to our kids. Okay, let me just show what we do. Okay, so as a father, let's say I'm a father. Now, let's say I will my $3 million property to my own, let's say my daughter. But what happens is that once I will it to her, she becomes the new owner. I pass on, I will it to her, she becomes the new owner. There's a lot of other risks that we overlook. One, divorce. Now, if I will, I don't know whether you are aware or not, if I will a property to my daughter inherits it, my new son-in-law stays in that house, it can become matrimonial asset. So long when my son-in-law move into the house, improve the house, what do the court deem improve? Let's say he sweep the floor, it's considered improve the house. He renovate the house, considered improve it. So moral story, tell your children, don't let your in-law touch the house. Understand? Because the moment your in-laws improve the house is treated as matrimonial asset. So if they were to divorce, your in-law can challenge the house, which you left behind one. You will climb up from the grave if your son-in-law is dead. Correct enough. So a lot of time we overlook it, and it's usually when we plan for those ultra rich, it's always our concern. Because why? Because it's common in Singapore. Every 4 marriages, one end up in divorce now. Maybe in the future, 2. Maybe in the future, 2. Right? So this you need to take note that you cannot just outright will this property to your children, and then if they, let's say, they end up in divorce, you'll be challenged. Second one, bankruptcy. All right. Now, if they do the wrong thing, bankruptcy doesn't mean that you do the right thing. You do the right thing also can end up in bankrupt. You know who's the classic example? Goh Chok Tong's elder son. Business risk. And they sue him for 200 over. He's liable for 200 over million. Even his father is rich, the father will not pay for him 200 over million. If he lost that case, the court case, okay, he will officially maybe go to jail and declare bankrupt. So there's such risk. Okay, there's such risk. So what happens is that if you will it and it belongs to him or belongs to your daughter, if you have declared a bankrupt, the official assigning can claim your properties. Then you will it to your kids. Last one, death. Now I quote you one example of death. What do I mean by death? There was a couple. What happened is that the daughter married a Muslim. okay, marry a Muslim. And what happened is that this couple, the daughter is their only child. So what they did, the couple bought a condo for her daughter. Right? So of course, if I'm the son-in-law, I move in now. Correct lah. So the son-in-law move in as matrimonial asset. Okay. But what happened is, unfortunately, the couple met with an accident. Both of them died together in the accident. Okay. Both of them died together in the accident. If you are the parent, can you claim back the property that you have given to your daughter?
Okay, no.
No.
Then Muslim law.
Yes, correct. Because the daughter marry a Muslim, you follow Muslim rules. The daughter converted to Muslim, you follow Muslim. If your beneficiaries are, your heirs are non-Muslim, not entitled to inherit. Okay, if the daughter is a non-Muslim, let's say the daughter is a non-Muslim, and they die without a will, at least the wife, the parents still at least get 50% under ISA. But because she converted to Muslim, nothing for her parents. Go to the other side, the Muslim side. So if you're the couple, will you be very upset? Okay, so take note that you need to plan, strategize. All right. So how do we address that? All right, there's one solution. So what happens is, as a sole owner, what you do is you don't straight away will directly to your children. What you can do is you will it to a trust. So the trust holds the asset for you and for your child. So what happens is that the property, all right, will be held by the trust, and then your daughter will be the one benefiting from it. So what happens is you can put in a trust, your daughter can stay there, but it's not the asset of your daughter. Okay, she can stay there, enjoy whatever benefit. Example, if you rent it out, the income can be given to her. Okay, if you sell away, the capital can be given to her, up to you. All right, but it's not directly given to her. So if you have too many beneficiaries, one way is to use trustee, to use a trust to distribute a property. Okay, and there's another method which I'm going to share. Okay, but one way is to create a trust, all right, so that the property do not go directly to the child. Now, if they don't inherit a property, it's not considered one count. That means they can buy their own properties. Take note of that. The trust is the owner. They are not the owner. They're not the legal owner of property. The trust. But whatever benefit goes to them. Okay. Now, if the child ends up declare bankrupt, nothing happened. If pass on, nothing happened. Divorce, nothing happened. So, and if let's say your daughter were to pass on, you can give to the next generation, the grandchildren or whatsoever, you can do that. All right, take note, a living trust in Singapore, we can create for at least 100 years in Singapore. You can extend if you want to, you create another trust to transfer all the assets around, but no point, 100 years good enough. All right, great-grandchildren. And this is already called trust for life tenure. And also the trustee sometimes can be, your child can also be non-Singaporean. Okay, maybe they're American citizen, UK citizen, you may consider doing this trade. Not confirmed, you need to get a tax opinion before you strategize this for foreign beneficiaries.
Can HDB to put into a trust?
Cannot, only private property. Okay, because public housing, so it cannot. Alright, so there's a limitation if you own HDB. There's a lot of limitation. Actually, there's a lot of limitation if you own HDB lah. When planning is concerned.
When you do the trust, there of course you have to designate a trustee to manage it.
Yes, correct.
Can it be the daughter, for example?
Okay, to prevent challenges, we usually ask someone else instead of the daughter.
Of course, your company to be the trustee.
No. You can invite another. You can get another person. So what we do is example. So let's say I have 2 kids. Okay, I can appoint one child to be the trustee of this child's property, and this child's property, this child be the trustee of this child's property. So I do a cross-reference trustee arrangement.
Okay. So
Then
but
I
then
become-
you're setting up 2 different trusts.
Yes, but the trustee
Which is
are
2
your
additional 2 fees.
yeah. 2 legal. The fees are not a lot to set up a
Okay, and
trust.
then when can they sell the property?
You can put instruction out there in what scenario then they can allow to sell. Let's say they achieve a certain target, whatever, certain amount, whatsoever, you can do that.
Okay.
Or they 2 of them to make decision together. If they want to sell, both parties must come together to decide both property to be sold.